my god. Y'all are actually getting a March video for me. That's fucking bonkers. I really didn't know if I was gonna, I didn't know if everything was gonna work out. Hi, I'm Mooney. And welcome to the channel where random Monday every month I yap about a topic, or I just yap in general, or I just do a thing and bring you along with me. Either way, victim. You're a victim. You're my victim now. And today I'm gonna victimize you to all that I need to say about the Spectacular Now book. Okay? Just everything. I just need to rant. I'm just gonna be ranting and y'all gotta stay. You're here if you're here, and you're gone if you're gone. Here's a history between me and Spectacular Now. I watched the movie when I was like 10 years old and loved it. I loved it. I was a Shailene Woodley girl in 2010. It's like crazy. I didn't find out it was a book until like a few years later. And then I didn't get the book actually, like buy it until last year. And I read it and I loved it and I finished it this month. And literally, like, I'm not being hyperbolic, I was screaming my way through the last like 6 chapters because of everything that was happening on this page. And I need to get it out. I don't really know how to do an overview of this book because I kept saying that it's kind of, we're following Sutter through out of his relationship with Cassidy into his relationship with Amy, but that's too simple. That's too simple, and that's focusing on the wrong part for me, because this book is more about just following Sutter's psyche and being inside of Sutter's head and figuring out his relationship with himself and his world and the people around him, really. It's really a case study on Sutter and maybe a person like Sutter or a situation like Sutter's, you know? It's more than just relationship crap with Amy, Cassidy, Shawnee, like his exes, and more of Sutter as a person and getting to know what the fuck is going on in his psyche, right? So that's how I'm going to describe the book very quickly. I have the book right here in front of me, so I will be looking down during certain parts. Sutter's our main protagonist. He has a dependency to alcohol. Dare I say he's an alcoholic. He likes Dean Martin and music of that era. He looks up to Dean Martin. He calls him Dino the whole fucking book. He's focused a lot on the now of life instead of like after high school, after this, adulthood, college, marriage, this, that. But as the book goes on, we find out that like Sutter doesn't really have hope for all of that. He doesn't really have hope of marriage. He doesn't really believe in marriage because of his parents' marriage, which I will say in a second. A lot of self issues Sutter has are because he thinks he's kind of rotten. He thinks he's cursed. He thinks that he's no good at all. He feels this emptiness within himself, and it pours out into his interpretation of life and of the world around him. He puts on this like life of the party kind of like facade to run away from that. He drinks to run away from that. But like eventually everything just comes crashing down for Sutter, and he can't run from it. Sutter has a difficult relationship with his family. His father hasn't been around since he was 8. His mom is around. She's a nurse. So she's around, but she's like really busy. He feels like his mom doesn't want to be around him, and he personally blames his mom for the breakup between his father and his mother. But he never believed his mom when she would say that his father cheated on her and was a liar and left the family. He thinks that even if his father did cheat on his mom, it must be because she's a mean person, that she's so annoying and boring that he might have had to just go somewhere else to escape from her. That's like the only way he can maybe acknowledge that his father cheated. And then he doesn't think that his father just left. He thinks that his mom pushed him out of the house and doesn't allow him to come see his kids. Holly, his sister, also says that the father cheated and says that the mom told her and like kind of confided in her. Weird. For me, the turning point in a lot of things, like spilling out of Sutter about his view on the world and his view of self is going to meet his father. He gains the courage throughout the book to actually go to his sister and get his father's contact information. His sister also doesn't have to go look for the contact information because she has it. She says that their father calls about like once a year, about drunk out of his mind, trying to get mom back, which is crazy. But she gives it to him. Sutter ends up going with Aimee, who is the only person he's ever told that his father is actually, he doesn't know where his father is. Sutter the whole time has been lying to his friends about where his father is. He said that his father works at the top of the Chase building. So they go together, graduation weekend, which we learn that Sutter isn't graduating anyway because he needs summer school for algebra, which is crazy because Aimee was supposed to be tutoring him in algebra, but then they started making out and she got distracted. Sutter called his father beforehand and they agreed on this date. Sutter just didn't tell him that it was graduation weekend because he was like, in his mind, he was like, oh, I don't need to tell him. I don't care about graduation. I'm going this weekend. If I tell him it's graduation weekend, he'll be like, no, go to your graduation, even though he's not graduating. So he's like, I'm fine with going. Right? Right. It's like 3 hours away. I don't remember where they're going to see his father, but they live in Oklahoma. They go 3 hours away. They go to his father's duplex. He's confused. Literally his father opens a door and he's like, who you? Sutter goes, Sutter. Tommy, his father. It's blank. It's still blank. He has no fucking clue who Sutter is. Even though they talked on the phone. And he has to add on, your son? For Tommy to recognize, like, oh, okay, right, my son, my child, I have a son. Right, exactly. He completely forgot about this weekend, that they had the call and that they agreed on this weekend. He was literally on his way to the bar to meet up with his friends and his lady friend. But he's like, oh no, it's fine. You and Aimee, come along. So they go to the bar. It's Larry's. There's like 12 people in there. His dad's like the life of the house, life of the bar. He says hi to everybody. Everybody knows his name. They're all excited to see him. Except for Mrs. Gates, his lady friend, who's married, who's having an affair with his father. Okay? Okay. She's like, you're 30 minutes late. He's like deflecting. He's like, my son came, didn't know he was coming. Yes, you did. She's actually quite happy to see Sutter and to meet Sutter and to see Aimee and all that. In the movie, she's not. But they all sit together with like pitches. They keep getting pitchers of beer. And I think they get food at one point, like a little bit of food. Maybe fries. I don't remember. But it's Aimee, Sutter, Tommy, Mrs. Gates. They're kind of just talking. Dad's telling stories. So they're having fun. But then they kind of stumble onto the topic of why Tommy left, which kind of ruins everything. Aimee innocently is like, so what have you been doing since you left Oklahoma? Tommy's like, oh, I've been traveling, and he gushes about Key West, Florida. Tommy also says, if I was 5 years younger, I would have stayed. Okay. So Amy's like, why did you leave? He gives his answer, which is money. But after a moment, he's like, but I bet Sutter is more interested in why I left Oklahoma. Right? Sutter was silent, by the way. Sutter was not talking. He was kind of laughing along to the stories. Sutter wasn't the person asking. His father just continues, and he's like, well, I wanted to be there for you and Holly. You know, I just lost track of time, and things with your mom were just so uncool, and I just couldn't be around. I'm not a family man. Mrs. Gates goes, okay, so like what specifically happened? He doesn't say. He says specifically that the mom wanted a future, and Tommy just couldn't give it to her. And they're all like still really being crazy vague. So Sutter is actually talking now, and he's like, well, mom told us you cheated. His dad is kind of silent for a little bit. Mrs. Gates probes. She's like, well, did you? He goes, a little. And we get that he actually cheated a lot. He actually cheated a lot. He would go out for drinks, and then one thing would lead to another, and then you're with this woman, and Mrs. Gates is arguing with him about it. He's explaining it as, I'm sure I love them all, it's just only for like 45 minutes, which matters. literally Mrs. Gates takes it over. She is arguing with Tommy. They're going back and forth. This is terrible. This is ruining the night, right? She breaks the pitcher. I think she pours the pitcher out of beer all over him. She breaks the plate. She breaks the pitcher. She's breaking shit in the bar. So the owner's like, you have to leave. You can't be here. Tommy gets up with Mrs. Gates. He's like, I'm going to take her home. I'll be back 30 minutes tops. Pay the bill for me. Bounce. Sutter&Aimee, 18-year-olds, not supposed to be here, not supposed to be drinking. They pay. Barely. They have to literally rub their pennies together that they collectively have and pay the bill. His dad does not come back. His dad, 30 minutes passes, an hour passes, an hour and a half. Sutter is over it. Sutter does not want to, he's been stewing in everything that his father told him and the crash of his image of his father just for an hour and a half now. So he starts driving. It's raining, by the way. It's raining really heavily. He's driving. He starts driving. He's like, we're just going to go home. We're just going home to Oklahoma. I don't want to be here anymore. And Amy, sweet girl, she's there's a big stretch of silence, which I'll talk about in a second. There's a big stretch of silence. They're driving in the car in silence for a while. And she's like, well, if he wasn't just caught up with Mrs. Gates, like he would have came back. Sutter won't hear it. Sutter in his mind, in the silence, has already been like, my father does not care about us. You don't just lose track of time if you actually love your children. I guess my 45 minutes of love was up a long time ago. And that no wonder his mom can't look at him and his mom can't talk to him. He must remind her too much of his father for her to be comfortable around him or to have an actual relationship with him. And Sutter admits that that's the real scary part, is that maybe I am just like him, and maybe I am gonna just end up in this Loserville duplex like he is. Anything that Amy tries to say from this point cannot bring Sutter back. Sutter is completely spiraling, and this is the moment where if Sutter had any hope for his future, he loses it here. It is like chapter 61. We're at the end of the book. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the book. There's 66 chapters in this book. He is finished. Any hope that he could have had for his life is gone. He's like, I don't know what there is instead of hope, but I have my bottle. Specifically after he meets his father and after everything of that, he can't drink. Like, he is drinking. It's not doing what it usually does for him. It usually has him floating. He's usually feeling good. He usually feels like the king of the world. He talks about it as it going down stale. Like, he literally cannot drink anymore for a little bit. He doesn't want to drink for a while after this because it's not helping. It's not doing what it's always done for him, which is drown out the noise. And there's a lot of other things that happen in the scene, but I'm just going to talk about Sutter. Okay? I'll get into the rest of the scene in a while. Sutter's ending is really sad for me. Amy leaves. Amy ends up going to Philly, which I'll talk about more in her segment. Cassidy ends up leaving, and Sutter, after a few days of not drinking, feels the need to drink right there at that moment. So he goes to a bar, and he drinks with all these older men that are kind of like the crowd that his father would hang out with. And he tells them that he's only 18, but he just had his girlfriend leave, and this, that, and third. They let him drink. He stays there for a couple hours. And then after he leaves the bar, he kind of just walks alone. And I'll read his ending. I'll read it. But before, hold on. Right after he's saying that he feels thirsty, he calls alcohol magic. Right? He's like, forget about working on something just to have it fall apart on you. Let the magic come. That's what I say. Let the magic come and fill in every inch of that little black crack behind your breastbone. So that's why he drinks. That's why Sutter drinks a lot. And his actual ending, which is the last page of the book, my highlighted segments I'm going to give you. And what does Cassidy know about the way I feel? Of course I can feel loved. I open my arms wide and let the wind flow over me. I love the universe and the universe loves me. That's a 1-2 punch right there. Wanting to love and wanting to be loved. Goodbye to the future and to the past. Goodbye, goodbye. I can't feel you anymore. Goodbye. I say goodbye as I disappear little by little into the middle of my own spectacular now. And I screamed. I literally screamed at the end of this book because I was like, no, Sutter, please, you're better than this. I was like doing that whole thing and being like, well, Sutter, please, like you can be better. But like Sutter doesn't see. He thinks that he's cursed. He thinks that he's rotted. He thinks that he only can become his father. He doesn't feel like he has a choice or that there's any actual future for him. He calls himself the boy without a future. He calls himself a snake apple bastard. He's like, maybe I'm just like gonna be a liar and a cheat like my father and a drunk and all of this. And he doesn't see that he can get out of this. So I just start screaming. I could scream all day and all night about Sutter and crying. Ricky is Sutter's best friend that Sutter has been friends with since they were like 3rd grade. I don't know. They've been friends forever. The last straw for Cassidy happens on the night that Sutter is trying to help Ricky get a girlfriend. They meet up with Tara and Bethany, and Sutter sends Bethany and Ricky off together on like a little canoe. And he's like, oh my god, I lost my phone. I have to go back to my car. I'll catch up with y'all later. He takes Tara with him, and they're in the car. It's a whole thing. But Ricky, before then, was always kind of like a stoner. Always kind of like, he'd get stoned, he'd start doing sermons, he'd start being like, there's so much greed in the world, there's just the money god and the sex god and this and that. And Sutter would jokingly call him Reverend Ricky because of how he would get when he was high. After Bethany, he stops smoking, he drinks less, or stops drinking, I don't really actually remember. He starts going to her church functions. He starts going to church in general. He starts hanging out with her friends over Sutter because Bethany doesn't like Sutter. Bethany does not like Sutter because Sutter came to a nice church-friendly party and got drunk and kind of just was being weird. So she doesn't like him. Ricky's spending a lot of his time with Bethany, which is kind of okay because Sutter's spending a lot of his time with Amy at this point. Ricky's also the first person to kind of be very vocal about not understanding why Sutter is spending so much time with Amy, even when Sutter is like just saying that Amy's a means to get better grades. It's like, I'm just hanging out with her to help her, to get her confidence up, to give her the boyfriend experience. And Ricky's still like, okay, but what if she falls for you? And it kind of falls into, like, Sutter's relationship with self, and he says, like, a month tops, she'll be sick of me. He doesn't believe that girls fall in love with him, which is, I forgot to say that before. Sutter also does not believe that people love him. He feels like no matter how much time a girl will spend with him, relationship-wise, will never love him. Ricky is all, what are you doing? Stop doing this, you're gonna hurt her. But Sutter is still like, no, she'll cut me loose eventually. After they spend time with each other and they're kind of like actually boyfriend girlfriend, Ricky's like, please don't have sex with her. Ricky kind of annoys me a little bit. For me, reading a lot of Ricky's points, at least in the beginning, were feeling like they were kind of perpetuating Sutter's feel like he could never be good for a girl. Right? So I just didn't really care for Ricky for a lot of the book, but I might have just been ignorant. Cassidy, you can see our actress up here. Add a few pounds. If you want to do, not add a few, add like 100 maybe. Because for her book counterpart, she is referenced to as like my beautiful fat girlfriend. She's not fat in the movie, but in the book, she's like my beautiful fat girlfriend. And everything else is the same. She's just not fat enough for me, but it's a whatever. She's very outgoing, outspoken. She's very fun. But she is not just as focused on the fun as Sutter is. She actually breaks up with Sutter because of his, like, he won't be serious. And that's why she breaks up with him. That's one of the reasons why she broke up with Sutter. Another reason why she broke up with Sutter is because he asked him to be able to consider her feelings and put somebody else's feelings above his before he does certain things. And Sutter just kind of didn't listen. Didn't care about all that crap. Because he didn't hear her. He agreed to that. He agreed to those terms. Sutter didn't actually hear what she was saying. Because it's a whole piece of the chapter. Sutter was just kind of focused on having sex with Cassidy that day. You see it from his perspective. Obviously, the whole book is in his perspective. So we don't know what Cassidy is asking of him until she says it when they're breaking up. So she's asking this one thing of him, and she's like, I think we can be a really good couple. They've been dating for 8 months. And I think we can be like really long term, and we can stay together, but you have to be able to do this thing. Like, I need to know that you can do this, and you can be serious. He doesn't hear her, says, okay, I'll do anything for you, because he just wants to get to the sex. Moving on. The night that Bethany and Ricky are in that canoe, he's still in his car with Tara, right? Cassidy pulls up on them. And she's like, get out the car. They kind of argue back and forth. So Sutter's like, I'm doing a good thing though. I'm doing a good thing. I'm helping Ricky out. You have to understand. Cassidy's like, but you don't understand that I asked you to do one thing, which was consider how this would make me feel. Consider how things would make me feel. Consider my feelings. You never want to put anybody else's feelings above your own. She says it's over. She calls him a lost cause. Sutter's like, I like it more in the book than in the movie, because in the movie they kind of just make it seem like they don't have the scene where Cassie's asking him to consider somebody else's feelings. They don't have the part of the breakup where Cassie's like, all I asked you to do was this one thing, you didn't even listen to me. They don't have all that. They just kind of have him in the car with Tara, Cassidy pulling up, Cassidy saying, get the car, them arguing a little bit, and then her ending it up with, you're a lost cause, it's over, and then getting in her car. So it kind of just looks like Cassidy's just mad about, like, the girls, instead of, like, this seeming to be a thing in their relationship where over the 8 months, Sutter does not consider her feelings or consider a lot of people, anybody else's feelings but his own. So there's that. And then another piece of why she broke up with him is because Sutter doesn't believe that people love him. We get that from Cassidy's own mouth. She's like, I don't know what happened to you, but you, for the life of you, can't believe that people are in love with you or that we love you. Like me, your sister, Amy, your mom. Like, you don't, for the life of you, believe that you're loved, Sutter. He just breaks up the fact that she just dumped him and got with Marcus really fast. Which it was really fast. It was like a day. It was like a couple days. But, like, you could see that maybe Cassidy was, like, emotionally checked out before the actual breakup. And maybe it made it easier for her to just, like, move on. But, like, Cassidy's right in his face saying that I did love you. I can see in Amy that she loves you. But you'll never believe that. And, like, if you never believe that anybody can love you, how are we going to keep going on this facade that everything's okay in your life? He also sees what is going on with Amy. Amy starts drinking because of Sutter and their relationship. She sees that Sutter is turning Amy into a lush. Same as Ricky sees. So she's like, it's not good for Amy. Please break up with Amy. You're not good for her. Like, she's also checking throughout the book, like, you're not turning her into a lush, right? Because she sees Amy drinking. Like, at prom, she sees, like, that she has a flask and she's spiking her cup of punch. She's kind of just, like, constantly checking on Amy. She did cheat on Marcus with Sutter. She was feeling kind of suffocated with everything that was going on with Marcus's world. And because Marcus is an activist, he's an environmentalist, he has his own foundation, he always is at, like, a soup kitchen and helping the homeless. And Cassie describes it as, like, feeling suffocated and feeling like all these people's problems become their problems, and like it falls on them to solve everybody else's problems. So she was feeling suffocated and went to Sutter one day and almost tried to give in to, like, the fun that she has with Sutter, the spontaneity that she can tap into with Sutter and all that. And they almost have sex, but she stops because she can't stop thinking about Marcus. She can't stop thinking about Marcus. She can't stop thinking about how Marcus wants a future with her and how she wants a future with Marcus and how it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But she does get her good ending because Marcus comes to Sutter and he's like, what are you doing with my girlfriend? Because he finds out that Sutter and Cassidy still have, like, meetups on Thursdays. They just kind of drink and, like, talk at Cassidy's house. Sutter is like, you just have to, like, let her have fun. Like, have fun with her sometimes. Like, be able to have fun. So I think Marcus does end up, like, like, allowing himself to see fun in life and have fun. Like, he's still focused on helping people, duh, but he also is allowing himself to, like, have fun and go to parties, probably with Cassidy. But him and Cassidy had the ending of going to New Mexico together. And Cassidy was gonna go to college in Oklahoma. I feel like they say OU, but she actually went on a college tour with Marcus to New Mexico and fell in love with New Mexico herself. So she decided to actually just go there with him and go to school there instead. I think it's really sweet because she actually fell in love with the place herself instead of being like, I'm going with Marcus because Marcus is there. So she has a good ending, in my opinion. She has a really nice ending. Aimee, in the book, she is blonde-haired, blue-eyed, just like Cassidy. Think about her book counterpart. Aimee's a really shy person, and she's quiet, but she's also like a dreamer. She's kind of like under the thumb of like her family, like of her mom and her stepfather, or her mom's boyfriend. I can't remember if they were actually married in the book. There's a little brother Shane, though. He's there. Her mom is not wanting her to go to college. Her mom is like, you're not going to college. You have to stay in Oklahoma with me and help me with the bills and help me with the paper route. Really, it's her mom's paper route. Her mom just gets drunk with her boyfriend and goes to the Indian casinos and doesn't come home, or comes home too drunk to get up in the morning and do the paper route. She's a bitch. We don't like her. Randy is also a bitch. We don't like him because he does all those things too. He's called Randy the Walrus in the book because he just lays around all day. And he's kind of big. I don't really remember. I think he has like a beer gut. But there's a specific part, the first time a Sutter ever is brought over to Aimee's house for tutoring. Aimee's little brother, when she's trying to be like, oh, this is Sutter, this is Shane, my 11-year-old brother. He's like, did you get Dr. Pepper for Randy? You know he's going to want some when he gets up from his nap. She's like, I can get some later. And besides, there's some in the fridge. I can just use what's in there to give him his cup. Right? And Randy doesn't wake up for a while until like they're kind of like in the middle of their tutoring, and he literally yells from the bedroom for Aimee to come and get him a sody. So Aimee pours what's in the bottle into the cup and brings it to him. And Sutter describes this as like he can't really hear everything that Aimee is saying, if she's even saying anything, because she's so quiet and she doesn't want to like speak up to Randy. But Randy is yelling at her, so he hears everything that Randy is saying. Randy's like, you know I like my tall blue glass. What is this, a thimble? Go get me more. So Aimee has to get her little ass up and get Dr. Pepper for Randy. And she like blames it all on herself. Like she doesn't put any of it on her mother or Randy himself. She takes all the blame for the situation. Well, if I had just went after school, this wouldn't have happened. She takes responsibility for a lot of the things happening around her. Things that she doesn't need to be taking responsibility for at all. She has a sister named Ambeth. Sister that lives in St. Louis. She wants to go to St. Louis. She wants to go to college in St. Louis. She wants to work in a bookstore. She wants to work at NASA. She's a big dreamer, okay? Even though if her mom is saying she can't go to college, she still is like envisioning going to St. Louis, living with her sister, going to college there, working at a bookstore, living in her own apartment. That's her vision. She wants to also have a horse ranch with her husband, and her husband is this man that offsets her, and he's so opposite of her. She's just like a big dreamer of life like that, which is opposite of Sutter, because Sutter doesn't have all that. He just has the bottle. So I think Aimee would have gotten there either way. Aimee does get her ending of going to St. Louis and living with her sister eventually. She doesn't go to university. She's like, I'm going to go to community college there for a year, and then I'm going to transfer, because she missed admissions because she got distracted. I think my girl would have gotten to her ending even without Sutter going on this whole thing of, I need to help her get the boyfriend experience, get her confidence up. She can stand up to her mom, stand up to everything. So like what he initially is saying with the relationship and his connection to her. I think Aimee would have been able to get herself up and fight for what she wanted, even without Sutter, because she has that type of hope. People say that Sutter is not good for Aimee throughout the book, and I keep saying that I think, I don't know. I see it as best case scenario, right person, wrong time. Worst case scenario, he was just this weird guy that was kind of inching her towards her future. That kind of was a little detrimental, but also helped push her towards that way. In my head, for me, in my family, that's what works. Since I became a fan of the movie, I've always seen people, like, whenever I look up the spectacular now, recommended searches is, did Sutter actually like Aimee? Did Sutter actually have feelings for Aimee? My answer, nobody asked, is I do think that Sutter had feelings for Aimee. I also do think that he has residual feelings for Cassidy, sexual or not sexual. I feel like a lot of his feelings towards Cassidy towards the end are kind of like sexual feelings, or a feeling of like wanting to go back to what he knows and the girl that stayed with him for the longest. But I do think he has feelings for Aimee. The first indication for me personally, maybe this is just me being delusional, is Aimee is really interested in Amanda Gallico from the Bright Planets books, which is, I think it's a fake thing for the universe of this book. But It's sci-fi novels, it's manga. She comes in on a spaceship to help people. She comes in on a spaceship to get people away from the corrupt government of their planet. Amy talks about her as her hero. She coins her as her hero. There's a lake party, which is like their first little hangout. He says that he should like have something to kind of talk to her about. He looks on the Wikipedia of whole like Bright Planets thing and Amanda's Wikipedia. He describes hearing like Amy's voice explaining it to her, but he explains her voice as like a soft marshmallow voice, and I said, you like her. Next page, he kind of describes how reading about the Bright Planets book, I feel really close to Amy right now. And I was like, you kinda like her. And then I think at the lake party, he feels a little weird about seeing another guy with her, which everybody would be weird. The guy, Jason Doyle, calling him out by name because he's nasty in the book. Amy and Jason end up alone because there's a fight happening at the party. Sutter's walking away from the fight and he sees Amy with Jason and she looks sick and she has like a cup in her hand and Jason's like leaning over and like smelling her hair. He's like, wait, did you give her something to drink? Because he didn't give her anything to drink. Like Sutter walked away without giving her anything to drink. He kind of started her in a conversation about Bright Planets books and then pawned her off to another guy when they got to the party. Not Jason though, some other like nice kind of nerd guy. Turns out Jason gave her beer to like loosen her up. Here's when Amy starts drinking, though, because she doesn't like the beer. Sutter gets her a strawberry wine cooler. She likes that, but she wants what's in his flask. She's like, can I try that? Which is whiskey. She's taking a couple sips. She doesn't like it at first. She kind of gets more comfortable with it. And as they're walking away from the party and walking by themselves, she gets more and more okay with whiskey throughout the story. I'm gonna give more about why I think that Sutter likes her. Hold on, I have the book in my hand. Also, I will say that I like the kiss, their first kiss in the movie more. I like the energy of it in the movie better. I don't really know how to explain it because in the book it just kind of feels more pityish. Even if he does pity Amy at the beginning, it just makes me really sad. A lot of the book, Sutter is saying that he's just with Amy to rescue her from the abyss or rescue her from herself, not because he actually is attracted to her. Me and Sutter are really sweet in the book because of how Sutter describes how Amy is so different from any other girl. And, you know, I just like the way that he describes Amy when he's talking about how she's a dreamer and how it doesn't matter if dreams are real. Life is an ocean and everyone's hanging on with some kind of dream to keep afloat. Amy's lightsaber is a beauty. I love it. Anyone would if they could see the way her face beams as she clutches that thing with all her strength. It's really sweet. And then he's describing how Amy listens to him in a different way than Cassidy ever did. And Amy is so attentive when he's talking and telling a story. Like, she's soaking it up. Like, he's pouring out some expensive wine. She doesn't want to miss a drop. But Cassidy would always listen to him in a way of, like, waiting for a punchline. Like, she would have a wispy smile on her face and an eyebrow slightly raised. Like, never think that he was serious because, Sutter, you've never been serious. He's holding her in his arms and saying, it's strange the way she feels in my arms, so trusting. Like, she's completely sure I have something important in me that she needs. And then when he finally calls her a boyfriend, which is a month into, like, them, like, hanging out and, like, him being like, no, I don't like her. Leave me alone. She's like, I've never really had a boyfriend before. And he goes, well, you do now. Describes the way they come off his tongue as, like, marching. As if they've been waiting to be said, like, all month. Right in that scene, it's a lot for the scene. Like, kind of in his head, like, you know, I could have sex with her right now. Like, I could unsnap her jeans and go all the way right here and right now. In the car, in her driveway. Follows it up with, but that wouldn't be right. Not with Amy. And I said, you like her. Please tell me if I'm being delusional. Like, just tell me if I've been ruined by TV and, like, my ships. Like, they end up having sex. He's trying so hard not to have sex with Amy. But he does anyway, duh. I say all this to say, I like how he describes how close he feels to Amy during sex, okay? I'm gonna read it to you because I put hearts around it. In the middle of it, I look down at her face. Her expression is sublime. Her eyes closed and her lips moving slightly with the little peeps that squeeze out of her. She looks like a saint at prayer. Suddenly, I feel all the layers that have grown over my own purity stripping away. The faster we go, the more layers burn away until magic time hits and there's nothing left until the original me, as pristine as her body, shining and glorious. They feel so connected after sex. They, like, actually confide in each other in ways they've never confided in anybody else. And Aimee tells Sutter that her stepfather, Randy's older son, one night came into her bedroom and they ended up doing what her and Sutter just did, but illegally. And that's what makes Sutter comfortable enough to tell Aimee about his father. He tries to tell Ricky that's like it's like a soul thing with him and Aimee, and he literally is like, you want to believe that she looked like that just so you can pretend and believe that it's all like pure and innocent. And he's like, no, it was a soul thing. But Ricky's like, that's right, Reverend Sutter Keeley can save everybody else's soul but his own. Oh, he keeps believing that he's just with Aimee for now. He didn't think that Aimee's gonna stick around, but it's still all catering to like some kind of thought of that everybody's gonna leave him. But then prom happens. Girl, prom is a hot ass mess. He starts getting all his arrangement for prom like too late. He can't get a limo with fucking Ricky. He can't get a limo with Cassidy in them because they already have who they're getting a limo with. They already have arrangements. He almost doesn't get a corsage, like, but they're at prom and they're drinking. Like, for prom, he gets Aimee the gift of a flask, and that's a bad thing because they're just drinking all freaking night. Weirdly enough, this video is going up before St. Patrick's Day. Sutter is looking at everybody as he's sitting down and getting drunk, and he's like, you know, prom is kind of like St. Patrick's Day for teenagers. I have no idea what he means, but they're getting drunk together at the table. They're not dancing. Cassidy comes over to the table and she's like, come on, dance. How aren't y'all dancing? It ends up with Sutter going and dancing with Cassidy. Sutter, during this part, is kind of like looking at Cassidy's body like, damn, she looked fine. It's gross. It's nasty. Boo, 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 boo. Aimee's sitting at the table, pissed. He's dancing with Cassidy. Cassidy's literally still asking, like, please tell me you're not turning her into a lush. I can see that you're drinking with her. So Cassidy's still checking in on Aimee. It opens up some insecurities for a little Aimee. Even when she later on dances with Sutter, she apologizes for not dancing like Cassidy. And he's like, but you dance like Aimee, and that's okay. Like, I love that. So they have like a sweet moment. But later on, Sutter kind of fucks it up because kind of just gets up on the stage, starts singing You're Nobody Till Somebody Loves You. I think it might be a Dean Martin song. And he's forgetting words, and he's kind of stumbling over other words. And he's trying to get people to like get into it, but they're kind of just over Sutter at this point. Like, so many people are kind of over Sutter. I think somebody yells at Sutter to get down. They sing for a little bit, but then like not entertained because Sutter's just pissy drunk up there. But Mr. Astor, the algebra teacher, gets Sutter down. He's like, all right, Sutter, you're done. You're done. Come on, leave. They leave. And Sutter still wants to keep partying. Aimee's like, we can stay inside in the hotel. So they go to a house party. Sutter leaves Aimee alone. He's got life of the party duties to do. He can't just sit and like drink and like vibe with Aimee the whole time. Duh. So Aimee is away by herself drinking Ugo Bugo. Sutter is jumping in the pool, even though the girl that threw the party said my parents said nobody can get in the pool. He's jumping in the pool with his clothes on. Everybody jumping in the pool with their clothes on. He gets out to like sit and watch everybody. Cassidy comes outside. She's like, you have to come inside. Aimee is throwing up in the bathroom. She is in the bathroom, like laid out. You have to come in. He's all making jokes and saying, no, bring her out here, might make her feel better. Cassidy's like, no, you have to come inside with me. And that's when Aimee pops up, drunk, stumbling, kind of smelling like throw up. It's in a little spat with Cassidy. She's like, he doesn't have to go anywhere with you, because she's insecure about Cassidy. And before at prom also is when Aimee was like, I want you to come with St. Louis with me. A lot of things are going on in her mind about their future, but also she feels like he still has feelings for Cassidy. It comes to a head because Aimee like slaps Cassidy and calls her a big fat bitch in front of everybody. Like, everybody's around, and it's all like it's embarrassing for both Cassidy and Aimee. Aimee falls over a glass table, like a glass patio table, smashes under her. Luckily, she only like gets a little glass in her arm. Sutter sits her down, trying to comfort her, but she ends up throwing up. The girl that threw the party like is like, you have to pay for it, you have to get out. Like, she's all like, she's pissy about it, which makes sense. Sutter is trying to be like, no, we don't have to leave. Like, he's trying to still stay. After that, everybody at school is calling her Pukerina. It's crazy. Sutter ends up getting fired from his job. It's like a soup store. He's like, we don't get a lot of business. You know, I can only keep one clerk, and I want to pick you, but I have to know that you can promise me that you won't come in drunk again. Not even a little loaded, not even a little buzz. But he can't say that. Sutter cannot say that he can just come into work without alcohol. So he gets fired. When Sutter leaves the suit store right after that, he sees Marcus's car and he's like, oh Lord, what? What does Marcus want now? But it's actually Cassidy, Marcus, and Ricky in the car to do an intervention. Not like an alcohol intervention, because I know they can't stop him from doing that. They're trying to get him to stop dating Aimee because they know that he's bad for Aimee. Also, Cassidy and Aimee talked separately, and Aimee apologized for the whole slapping her and calling her a fat bitch. Sutter's just trying to make it a good thing. Oh my god, she's outgoing now. She's out of her shell. And Marcus is like, no, but she's smashing vodka bottles in the movie theater. That's not the type of person she's cut out to be. And Sutter's like, well, what, do you think she's just gonna be a nerd? She should just keep hiding in a corner the rest of her life? Because I see a lot more than that. But Ricky's like, I see people calling her Pukarina at school. You think you're a savior, but you go around acting like you're saving other people's lives so you don't have to deal with your own problems. Sutter hasn't met his father yet. Sutter is also still very in his locked in with alcohol and locked in being nothing's wrong with my life. So he's like, what problems do I even have? A weird friend, a girlfriend that broke up with me, the guy she's dating now. So Cassidy's kind of like, this isn't working, let's just go outside, me and Sutter. And that's when she talks to Sutter about, I think you could be a good guy and the guy that she needs and the guy that could be the best thing for her. You could be that if you tried, but you're not trying. You know and I know that you're not in this thing for the long term. I don't know what happened to you. You really don't believe that anybody loves you. Not me, not your mom, not your sister, not Aimee. When Aimee very obviously is in love with you, she will not be able to walk away from you. You think it was easy with me? It was really hard to walk away from you in our relationship for the betterment of myself. Aimee is so in love with you that you are her entire world and that she will not be able to see that you're bad for her and see that she should walk away from you. Sutter doesn't hear that. Sutter's like, well, I'm moving to St. Louis with her. If I wasn't serious, would I be doing that? He's just deflecting. He doesn't completely see how bad he is for Aimee until when they go and see his father. So where do we leave off with the father thing? Dad didn't come back 30 minutes, an hour and a half. They're driving back to Oklahoma. Sutter, he's wallowing in his pain right now. And he's kind of been swerving a little bit and getting in the next lane and being honked at by other cars. I just want to let it be known how much in his head Sutter is during this trip. Again, he is saying that hope is absolutely unnecessary and that he hasn't found out what's there instead, and until then, drinking is just what we'll have to do. He says that there is no hope, and life is just you're running and running with a wall in front of you and a dog snapping at your ass. And he says that he's a black spot in the chest x-ray of the universe, and he says that nobody's coming to save him, and nobody's coming with inner prosperity like Amanda Gallico and the Bright Planets books, and all we have is the holy trinity of atomic vampires, the sex god, the money god, and the power god, and the god of the beautiful soul starved to death a long time ago. And throughout this whole scene, Aimee is trying so hard to say that I love you, I do love you, you don't have to question that. And he's kind of ranting. He's swerving to the next lane, and it takes him a while to get control of the car again, but he eventually is able to get a control and stop the car. Her first instinct is to ask if Sutter is okay. He's like, no, I'm far from okay. I'm a flaming screw up. And she goes I'm so glad that nobody's hurt. And she's trying to hug on Sutter, and Sutter's like, are you kidding me? I nearly just killed you and you want to hug me? You need to get away from me. I'm bad for you. And she's crying now. She's like, no, I don't need to get away from you. I'm okay. I just want to hold you. And then Sutter's like, oh my god. It's kind of clicking for him that maybe Cassidy and them were right. You won't get away from me, I'll get away from you. So he gets out of the car and he starts walking really fast in the rain. And he's like, maybe if I move fast enough, I can get away from myself. And she's calling after him and saying I'm sorry and crying and walking after him. And she gets clipped by a car. The car zooms past her and she gets clipped in the arm with their mirror. And she gets propelled. She only thankfully broke her arm. He's like, I'll take you to the hospital. She's like, don't take me to the hospital. I'll just go tomorrow. I don't want anything to go in the way of us going to St. Louis together. This was graduation weekend. Sutter did not graduate because of summer school, and he has to go to summer school. He did not tell Aimee that. Aimee still thinks that right after graduation they're going to go to St. Louis together. She doesn't want to be here for summer. She doesn't want to wait for summer. She wants to go as soon as graduation. He's like, are you sure? When she says, I'm sure, Sutter's in his head like, I've never loved anyone as much as I love her right now. And that's how I know I had to let her go. And I started screaming. Legitimately, from chapter 61 to chapter 66, there were so many points I was just screaming. That's the one for chapter 62. He doesn't end up taking her to the emergency room. She does, in fact, go to bed, sleep on this broken arm, and then take herself to the hospital tomorrow. The day that he takes Aimee to go break up with her, in his weird way of breaking up with her, Sutter at this point is like, oh, I should drink only the weekends. Him and Aimee meet up. They go to Marvin's, which is their place. They went there before prom. They went there on their first little date, I think. Now they're going here to end their relationship. He's going. But he doesn't completely end the relationship in the way of like, Aimee, I'm not good for you. We shouldn't be together. Da, da, da. He tells her about summer school. And he's like, I have to finish. I have to get credits for algebra. But I'll be there in a month. Tops. Do the apartment, go to school, get your job at the bookstore, start your life there. I'll come when I can. Aimee, like, genuinely in this scene is like, no, I don't want to go without you. Like, I don't want St. Louis without you. Like, I don't want to go without you. Like, I'm gonna miss you. He goes, turns out I can give her a future, just one that I'm not a part of. And I screamed again. Like, I almost started crying. I was like, in my head, it's like, it's not like the movie. Like, it's not gonna be like a happy ending like the movie, or like just a turn around in the movie. No, sister. So I just want to boohoo cry at this point. She agrees. She's like, okay, I'll go to St. Louis. And Sutter, in his mind, is like, I'll probably email her a month in. I don't know exactly what I'm going to say, but I do know that I'm going to tell her that I'm not coming. And it's also really sad in this scene because Aimee tells a story about how these girls are trying to bully her one day when she was younger and doing the paper route. They were like, what are you doing out here? And she was like, I'm looking for UFOs. Didn't you hear? Like, there was a UFO. Apparently, it's music can transform you into a good person and like a better version of yourself. And those girls just kind of walked with her for a while and were looking up at the sky, waiting to see and feel the warmth and hear the music of that UFO and be transformed into something spectacular. Aimee's whole point of that story was, first of all, to distract Sutter from his father and everything, because Sutter is like, no, I haven't told my mom or my sister that I actually went. My mom doesn't even know I got his number, and I don't want them to know that I have this screwed up, cursed male gene of the Keeleys. She also tells him the story to tell him this part, which is that Sutter is Aimee's UFO. She is transformed into this spectacular new thing because of Sutter, she says. And she's like, I wouldn't be the person I am now without you. And that's really sad. Aimee's taken home by Sutter, and they're just kind of sitting in his car. He starts to express to us and initiate, actually, car sex. Like, he starts to express the want to us for car sex with her, and that they've never done it sober. And then as he's kind of initiating it physically with her, he starts to express to us that it's not just because he's horny. He just wants to be as close as he can to her one last time. But Aimee's like, no. She doesn't have all the pieces exactly. So she stops him, and she's like, my mom's in the house. She might catch us, but when you come to St. Louis and we have our apartment, we can make love all over that thing. They say goodbye. They kiss one last time. It goes from this chapter right into the chapter where Cassidy is talking about New Mexico. Like, he calls Cassidy. They have a little conversation, and she tells him that she's going to New Mexico. Ricky's on, like, a long road trip, I think, with Bethany. He said something about, like, sending Sutter a postcard. And now Aimee's going to St. Louis, so he's just alone. So he turns back to drinking. I hate it. But also, no matter how much chaos happens for me while I'm reading the book, I love the book more than the movie. I watched the movie recently because I thought I was going to talk more about the movie for this, and I couldn't for the life of me stop my brain from going, this is different in the book, and it kind of made me feel numb. The parts that I watched when I was a child and that were always my favorite parts then and are always like have a nostalgia factor for me, I still love those parts. There was also just like other parts of the movie where I was just feeling I don't know, I couldn't feel something because I kept thinking, oh, I don't know if Book Sutter would have came back from this, but they're different Sutters. Just my brain couldn't shut up. So I ruined the movie for myself. But I'm sure later on in life I'll be able to like get over it and watch the movie again and love the movie again. But I think it's the same as why I like the Dear Evan Hansen novel so much. I don't like it more than the musical, but I would say I like it more than a lot of people I've seen have, because I like that we get so much of the actual Connor, even if it's through ghost Connor. I like getting the real Connor instead of getting the imaginary friend version through Evan. And then for this, I like just getting more in Sutter. Like, obviously we get Sutter in the movie because he's the main character, but there's so much more of and to Sutter in the book, so I just have more to take in and soak in and to connect with and to like look at and be like, oh my boy. Just kind of wanted to yap. I just wanted to yap about this book because I've been reading it for months. It was just a good time. I liked it. As much sadness as I felt during my reading of the book, I loved it because it was Sutter and because it was real in a way. I recommend, please go read if you want, because especially if you watch this freaking thing and was like, she is explaining shit so terribly, go read the book, sister. It's on Barnes & Noble. I'll put the price right here. That's it for me this month, I think. Oh my god. I was talking for a really long time. Whether you're a Sutter, a Cassidy, an Amy, a Marcus, a Ricky, a Mooney, just know that you're loved, okay? Please know that.